All right, y'all. Welcome to the Tuesday Triggers podcast. We have Chris Fry from Hyperspect. What's up, man?
Hey, how's it going? Stoked to be here.
So, a little background on Chris. When I was starting out in the space, I would, from time to time, get like a quick 30 minutes on your calendar and I would just be blown away. And I think that you've always led the space in your technology, automation, all of these different areas. And whenever I would then with you the next time, I'd be like, "Oh, I got some stuff to show him. I'm like catching up. I'm catching up." And then you would be like, "Oh, I'm doing this now," and you'd be a mile ahead of me. So I love getting a minute to chat with you and catch up with you. Another thing about Chris is that he has been not a full. I wouldn't say full nomad, but you haven't stayed in one place for very long in the last couple of years. So why don't you give us an update on what Hyperspect is up to and tell us where in the world you are now?
Yeah, for sure. Well, appreciate that. You're too kind. But yeah, I'm from San Diego. Right now, I'm in Valencia in Spain. Been bouncing around a lot. I think ever since COVID, kind of realized that hey, this is possible to do. It was a little stressful at first, just because it was a bit new, but definitely enjoying it so far. But our company is distributed, so we're all over the world. We got people in Asia and Europe and Latin America, the U.S. of course. But yeah, so we started off as a cold email. Actually, we started off as a LinkedIn automation, outbound, connection requests and that whole thing back in the day. It changed a lot, it got harder, it got more complex. We've found that email was a lot more scalable as a channel. So we've actually switched almost 100% over to cold email a couple years ago. And that's essentially what we do now. So we do performance-based cold email, generating meetings, generating leads for usually startups, mostly companies that are below 200 employees, although we've done some big projects for top five by market cap type companies. So it's a bit of a hodgepodge, but we usually try to focus on companies that don't have the bandwidth or the knowledge for getting all this stuff together, which, as you know, is complex and requires a lot of different skill sets.
Yep, 100%. So, in the same space as us, of course, I always love how your brain works. So, tell me this, like, what is Hyperspect? What are some of the cool projects you guys are working on? What are some of the things you're up to?
Yeah, so let's see. I think top of mind for us right now is, and has been for a while, is AI and the role that AI is going to play in go-to-market, in cold email, in copywriting, in small business development, and small business management. There's a lot of different areas that we've seen it kind of poke its head up and offer some kind of magic in many ways. But right now we're really laser focused on this agent idea or agentic workflows, which is like the biggest buzzword on planet Earth right now. So I'll never say that again. But I thinking about how do we modularize every little piece of our business and give these digital entry points or API endpoints, if you want to think about it that way, to a system that is trained on how we think, how we operate, how we do our business. And then, my secret bet is that OpenAI and others are going to carry us into Valhalla, and we're going to be building these agents that are going to run our own businesses for us. That's my bet and my burning wish. So we've spent a lot of time on that, and that's kind of pie in the sky right now. But just enabling all of our team members and our customers with faster, cheaper, better, stronger, right?
Yep. So, what are some of the agentic workflows that you're building that are doing heavy lift for people?
Yeah, so the most recent one that we just put the finishing touches on is what we call the Hyperspect Campaign Manager system, and it's really like a system that scrapes content about our customers, their websites, their YouTube channels, their LinkedIn profiles, and structures all that information so that we understand who they're targeting, what we should say. It generates different campaign strategies, combinations of segmentation and offer, and then it actually drafts the campaigns based on best practices that we've seen from people like Eric and Nick and other thought leaders and really effective cold email folks. So we're trying to become the McDonald's of high-end strategy, and really just simplify the process of going from 0 to 1 for a brand new client, and just boom, here's your whole strategy and here's how to execute it.
Yeah, it's funny.
That's
I
a good
think
one.
there's a lot of us doing. I mean, we're not doing exactly that same thing, but eventually, with Rev Reply, maybe a natural transition for us to like take on the AI SDR. I'm a firm believer that it can all be done right now, and even a year ago, it was like, well, people are like, oh, you can't do this, you can't do this, and I'm like, you can. You just need to like be willing to probably spend some money because it was expensive then, but like don't ever worry about that. Build to the future because costs are coming down, and as we can see with like 4.0 and 4.0 mini, and like dude, in 6 months, where is it going to be? Right, it's going to be next level. So, anyways, I mean, I'm super excited to chat with you more about that as we get into that in our session today. But why don't you talk about like let's do some basic advice, right, for people just starting in the space that are saying, okay, my company needs a cold email motion or needs a LinkedIn motion. What would you give advice for someone who's just starting there?
Yeah, it's a good question. I would first start with a very honest self-assessment of your situation, right? Because I think all strategy starts from, okay, where are we? What's our strengths and weaknesses? So look at yourself, look at your business, and start asking questions like, is this the right channel for us? Do we have a big enough market? Does our price point support the types of conversion expectations that are typical from cold email? And all that information is out there, right? So first step is, do we need this? Should we add this as a channel? Now, if you do, I think the next place to start is, all right, how much do I know about this? How confident am I that I understand all the moving pieces, or am willing to do the research to understand the moving pieces? And then make another assessment about whether you want to do it in-house or whether you want to outsource it, right? Um, I, I'm pretty honest with our clients, and I tell them when they should be keeping it in-house and when they should be outsourcing it, right? If they're sophisticated, if they're using tools like Clay, they understand deliverability, they understand how to use AI in there at some point, and they're getting results. I tell them like, hey, just do what you're doing, like build that capability in-house and sharpen that saw. But if you're really starting from scratch, I would say, look to either bring on someone part-time or look at agencies, right, who do this stuff all day long, because it's a wormhole.
Yeah.
Beyond that, I think you really want to make sure you have the right foundation. So make sure that your offer is something that people want to buy. Make sure you've done the research and worked on messaging in a way that makes it palatable and understandable and attractive for people, because that's really the biggest driver of success in our experience is the offer itself. And then just start playing. I mean, look at the tech stack that's out there. There's tons of LinkedIn posts. You can just type in, follow 100 people that you or I or anyone could recommend to them, and just start doing the research, right?
Yeah.
And then start fiddling.
Yeah, I mean that's a really good point. So I think even myself and our agency, and I think all of us really, but like we'll come back to like the offer being the most important part, right? Like I've had clients that are exactly the same and have just positioned their offer differently, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So let me ask you this: when you bring on a client, or for anyone out there that's starting to refine their offer, what would you do when you're helping a client refine their offer if it doesn't like hit right out the gate, or whatever? How do you start to dig into help them understand what their offer really is?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it's a nuanced question.
Super hard too.
I think it starts with understanding of the market, right, and what they want and what they've already been exposed to that might be potential solutions for that desire, right? So crystallizing the problems that they're having, the pain points that they have, what their desired transformation is, and then thinking, okay, how many other people are sending emails to them and exposing them to solutions like this. And that requires some research and it requires talking to customers. But you can always, and there's a lot of frameworks to think about this. Like Eugene Schwartz, Breakthrough Advertising is a great one. There's many others, right?
Yeah.
But starting with that, and then I think that helps to inform how you message around that offer, right? So is it a software tool that does X, or is it a vehicle to achieve Y transformation, or to get Z benefit in less than D amount of months, right?
Yeah.
Those are all different messaging frameworks that you can use that depend on those nuances, in that research phase. Also, targeting is important. We've had clients that have multiple offers and they're selling it to multiple different segments, and so you really want to like multiply those together and have pairs of segment offer, and then massage the messaging and the campaign sequencing from there. Because right away, I think you'll find like certain segments just aren't responsive to certain offers, right?
Yeah.
But then it's just a lot of testing, and I think you and I and other cold email people are in a tough spot because it's not like Google ads or YouTube ads where there's an infinite amount of inventory, and as long as you have the budget, you can just kind of run your ad groups and kind of whittle down, right?
Yeah.
You have a very limited market in many cases, so you really got to be strategic about where you start testing and make sure your tests are diverse enough. So like if you have 2 different offer tests or different messaging approaches, are they significantly different enough where you're going to get some signal back, right? Is it worth spending the leads on it? That's something that we struggle with a lot internally.
Yeah, we talk about a lot with our clients, or email fatigue is becoming a common thing. So again, when you have that limited TAM, how do you make sure you're spacing that out? Your touch points are thoughtful enough that people don't get email fatigue and say, hey, I never want to talk to this person again, or I never want to hear from this person again, right? And so you have to figure out, and to your point about like finding or getting client feedback to understand their value prop, that will save that time, right? Like significantly. And I think that's hugely important for companies to do, because I think that we learned a couple hard lessons early on where we were driving what we thought was success for our clients, right? And we were booking tons of meetings for them, and they ultimately, were like, oh, this isn't working. And we're like, what are you talking about? We're booking all these meetings for the people that you said that you wanted to book. And when we really dug into it, the people that wanted to book's budget was here, and this is the cost of their product, right? And so we had to do some quick restructuring to like figure that out, man. But like, that is something that we now go in and we really like, are you sure this is your value prop? So I would suggest to anyone that thinks they have their value prop nailed down, but maybe isn't closing as a high percentage of their meetings, or let's say your close rate is 3% when you actually get prospects on, you should probably go back to the drawing board and make sure that you've got, I guess, product market fit, so to speak, or you understand your value prop and who you're targeting.
Right.
Another great point on what you said is we really look at things like a house of cards in 2024, right? It's like death by 1,000 paper cuts, if you will, and it's all of these little minutia stacked on top that need to be in perfect working order, otherwise the whole thing breaks. And to simply say this to anyone that would be listening, it's really easy when you understand it this way, right? Like if you think of things like deliverability, targeting, messaging, and response handling, right? You can have the best deliverability and the best messaging, but if your targeting sucks, you're screwed. You can have the best messaging and the best targeting, but if your deliverability sucks, you're screwed. You can have the best deliverability, messaging, targeting, but if you're waiting for a day to respond to prospective emails and they don't land, you're screwed, right? So I think to your point, this is a finely everything is, you have to be finely dialed in. And if you're not, this is just my thoughts here, instead of hiring like an SDR that is new or fresh to the space and you're like, okay, cool, well, I'm just going to have them churning out emails, it's better to work with someone such as yourself who has this process dialed in and is the same price as an SDR or something in that ballpark, that will actually help you figure out this go-to-market strategy. Then start expanding your team. Even if you don't work with a lead gen agency forever, bring in the heavy hitter that's got 1,000 tricks in their Rolodex and all of these things that will help you succeed. So anyways, a little bit of a diatribe there, but I think that you nailed a lot of real serious pain points for a lot of people. I'd like to, for a second, go back to, I'm on this a lot lately, and we brought on a lot of speakers for Tuesday Triggers. I know you said you've pivoted away from LinkedIn, but why don't we do a minute on maybe some practical advice for those people who are still trying to use LinkedIn? Keep in mind, caveat here, the outreach is much less, but to a valuable point, if you can get people connected on LinkedIn and you don't hit them with email fatigue or hit them with a bunch of crap messages, you will have a good captured audience for life. So I would love some of your advice for those people approaching LinkedIn in 2024.
Yeah, look, I think LinkedIn is viable. I think what's viable or not viable is different for a company, a single company versus an agency. Like for us, I know we made the switch over to performance-based, which, a lot of people go the reverse. They start performance-based and end at retainer, but we're doing an experiment. So for us, it was hard because we absorbed the cost of setting up a bunch of LinkedIn accounts and all the automation tools and, managing all the proxies and all that stuff. And it's just a lot more overhead, or it's additional overhead. And not every offer was suited for that channel, right? Yeah. But I think if you're just a single company and you're looking around at the resources that you have, I think you should absolutely be on LinkedIn, right? You can get people on a different channel. You can connect with them. If you're doing organic as well, then if you're the founder of the company, you're now connected with people in your ICP. They're seeing your messages, boosting visibility in that segment on LinkedIn, right? So paired with organic as well, there's a good tie-in there. I also think that you can be smart about it, right? Let's say you are doing organic or leveraging other people's organic, right? Why don't you scrape the 100 top influencers, find the people who are liking people's posts about the same topics, right? And use that as your list. So it's like a pre-warm list than just true cold, right?
Yep.
I think there's some subtle tweaks that you can do that are lower hanging fruit where you could see a lot of success there. But we're thinking about it. We're thinking about bringing it back in, but it's, we've just come so far down the rabbit hole on email, and there's so much cool stuff that we're looking at building as well. It's like, I don't want to get distracted, and I get distracted easily. So it's trying to curb my own, my own tendencies.
I think every time we've ever talked, it's been about our little ADHD,
Right.
I'm doing these 10 different things right now. And right. Sometimes there's some money in just honing in. Let me ask you this. Where do you see Hyperspect going? Do you think it's going to, is the tool that you want to, or the tool that you're building to build out the whole GTM flow, is that the agentic SDR, or is this more about giving you frameworks and structure and making, human in the loop, user last mile type of thing?
Yeah, I don't, we're not really pursuing response handling the way that you are, I think.
Good, stay out of our space. No, I'm just kidding.
But I think we're more, I think, above the funnel. I hate that word, but it truly is. I think it's more, we spent a lot of our bandwidth recently on making sure that the messaging is correct. And I think where we want to go in the next 6 to 12 months is really systematizing that process so that we can go 0 to 1 extremely quickly for net new clients. And honestly, I don't know if we are going to SaaSify it. We have people who are paying us money right now to just do all their messaging for them and to plan their whole, that part of their motion. And I see business there, of course, but I don't know what it's going to be yet. And I kind of have this vision of us actually being bought by some larger company that let's say they have 1,000 clients, right?
Yeah.
Maybe they're a full service digital agency, or they're doing some other kind of lead gen, or they're a sales consulting company, and they just want to plug in something that they can now tack on cold email as a super profitable additional service. I
Yeah.
think that's maybe the direction that we're going to go, but who knows? I mean, I've
We'll
been
see in
known to
6
sink
months,
30
man.
grand into a SaaS product that went nowhere, so we'll see if that happens again.
Been there, done that, my man.
Yeah,
Awesome, dude. Thank you very much for coming on. And yeah, talk to you soon.
cool. Thank you so much. Appreciate
Cheers,
it.
bud.